Hello, it's Martin Sketchley here from ELT Experiences, and today we're going to be doing our first book review. And our first book review is from an author called Walton Burns, and Walter Burns sent me this book, so great. Thank you very much, Walter. The book is 50 Activities for the First Day of School. Okay, and Walter himself is a teacher and materials writer. He's from the USA. He's been a teacher since 2001, and he's also written lesson ideas and activities and that sort of thing. So thank you very much. Anyway, with this book review, we're going to be having a look at particular chapters, and then at the end of it, we're going to have a look at my overall evaluation of the book and to find out whether it is suitable enough and appropriate enough for the use in the classroom. Anyway, let's get started. So, the book itself is divided up into, 4 chapters. The first chapter is about an introduction. It's an introduction into the book, which is quite nice, and it really sets the scene for the first day of school and what most teachers probably feel like when they walk into a classroom and are introduced to students that they don't know themselves. And I think this book gives this clarity which is really needed for the first day of school, and it's a really interesting introduction. Myself, and as probably other teachers as well, I really don't like walking into a classroom without any prior knowledge about the students, and I try and find out as much as possible before I get into the class about nationalities, ages, experiences of English, etc. And I find that little bit of knowledge can really go a large way when you're dealing with a new class. Anyway, to go on to the book itself, after the introduction, which is great, there's 3 main chapters, and these are split in between getting to know your students, assessing and evaluating your students, and also setting the tone, ensuring that students perform appropriately, adequately in the classroom where you expect them to. Okay, I'm going to tell you a few of my favourite activities in this book which I've used in practice, and we'll start off with the first chapter, which is getting to know them. Okay, in this chapter there are 27 different lesson ideas for getting to know the students. So there is quite a wealth of lesson ideas which you can read and incorporate into your lessons as soon as you want to. Okay. So for example, this activity I used in the class today because I had a new group of Italian students, and it was really useful. Okay, and this activity is called toss a ball. Okay, so you have a basic soft squishy ball. Okay, and it's a name learning game, and it adds some action to make learning their names a little bit easier. Okay, let me give you an example of what's included in the book so you get an idea as well. So you throw a ball gently to a student to catch. Ask the student to say their name. You prompt that student to throw the ball gently to another student. When that student catches it, ask that student to say their name. Continue in this way with students throwing the ball to one another and the student who catches a ball saying their name. Make sure that the ball is always thrown to a new student so that everyone catches a ball and says their name once. After a few rounds, introduce a new rule. Now students must announce their name, of the student they have thrown the ball to. If they accidentally throw the ball to the wrong student, they get a strike. 3 strikes and they have to sit down. It is quite an interesting activity. What I normally used to do was, with a soft squishy ball, or like a spongy dice or something like that, I would get the sponge ball or sponge dice, throw it to the student and just say, "Oh, what's your name?" And I'll try and remember that, and then I would try and test myself. But this is a nice activity to make the lesson quite competitive and benefit of the book at the moment. There's a variation of this which is included in various of the other activities, so you can you have the main activity and then you have a variation of that main activity, which is quite nice to see. So for example, you can have students throw the ball to the same student in the same order every round, or have them throw the ball at random. When you start having students announce whom they are thrown to, you can introduce a second, third or fourth ball, so students are constantly having to listen for their name. Okay, so that's quite a nice variation. As I said, there's 27 lesson ideas in getting to know the students, and that one was one of my favourites. Okay, the second chapter is assessing and evaluating your students, and in this chapter there are let me see if I can remember, 17 lesson ideas for assessing your students on their first day, or perhaps in the second lesson, what have you. Anyway, with these 17, I've chosen my favourite, and my favourite one is the usual needs evaluation survey. Okay, and again, this activity is really good to try and learn more about what your students are expecting and their history to English language learning as well. So I'll just mention it very briefly. You give students a survey to fill out, and there are a number of ways to do a needs evaluation. Depending on the level of the student, the tenor of the class and the familiarity of survey instruments, surveys of any kind can use pictures, individual words, sentence fills, acting or oral questions and responses, as well as formal written questions. Okay. For me, I tend to use the questionnaire or the find someone who activity. Again, those are nice icebreakers which you could use. As with every other chapter, like the previous one, it goes through step by step each activity, and it's very, very thorough. So it's really, really good to get a good idea what to do in the first lesson. The final chapter is called Setting the Tone. Setting the Tone. So it's really trying to model good behaviour and developing rules which are positive for the language learners. Okay, and my favourite one, how many are there? There are, let's see, 6. There are 6 teaching ideas, practical ideas for this chapter in setting the tone for the classroom and the lesson. My favourite one actually is quite nice and quite simple to use, and I've done this before in the past, and it could be good if you have a constant roll-on, roll-off process where a new student is introduced to the classroom, and then the students can really bond with that student and share the best ideas on the best ways to study or learn in the classroom. Okay, and one idea which I really, really enjoyed in the book was sharing tips. Okay, so this is having students teach others how to study well. Okay, that's the main aim, and again, it's great for constant roll-on, roll-off programs that you may have in your country. And it's very, very simple. There's 4 steps. 4 steps. Number 1, put students into pairs. Ask them to share one piece of advice for learning English with one another. Very simple. 2. Alternatively, each pair agree on 5 pieces of advice, then as a class you can whittle it down to the top 10 pieces of advice overall. Yeah. Number 3, you can also give each pair a particular area of English. Pair 1 talks about how to learn vocabulary, pair 2 talks about how to learn grammar, pair 3 talks about how to practice speaking, and so on. And then students can wrap up by writing their advice on posters to hang around the class. Really, really, really good. Very, very practical. And so, as you can see on the front cover, there are 50 different types of activities and ideas which you can use straight into this classroom. So, it's really great. I would recommend that you get this book because it's highly practical. I would give it 5 stars out of 5 just due to the practicality of using this book and being able to use it straight away into the classroom. It's really, really good. I'll put a link down in the details below on how to purchase the book. You can purchase it either in hardback, which I was lucky enough to get, or you can get it by Kindle, digital. So that's really good. So again, thank you very much, Walton, for letting me have a book and reviewing it, and I appreciate everything else. What do you think about the book? Have you used this book? Are you familiar with it? Do you have any ideas for icebreakers as well? Again, any questions down below. If you want me to review a particular book in English language teaching, don't hesitate to contact me or leave a comment down in the video. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.